She walked into the lobby like any other applicant. No designer bag, no polished heels, no team of stylists or consultants, just calm eyes and an unbothered stride. The receptionist barely looked up. In the waiting area, other candidates glanced sideways, smirking. Her clothes were too simple, her presence too quiet. Someone whispered, "Did she get lost on her way to the janitor's closet?" Her name wasn't actually Cinderella, but that's what they called her. Behind her back, of course. The label stuck the moment she arrived. Clean shoes but clearly worn, no visible makeup, hair tied back with a plain clip. In a place where appearance was half the game, she looked like she hadn't even read the rules. Inside the interview room, the panel waited with forced smiles and folded arms. The HR manager, slick and self-assured, leaned back in his chair. One of the junior VPs was already bored, scrolling through his phone under the table. She entered quietly, nodded once, and took her seat. They barely looked at her. The questions came quickly, sharp and impatient. Why should we choose you when your resume has gaps? Do you even know how to use our systems? What value do you bring to a high-performing team? She answered each one without flinching. Her voice was steady, but not robotic. Thoughtful. She didn't try to impress. She didn't over-explain. She just spoke with a kind of certainty that made some of them shift in their seat. She corrected a typo on a printout one of them handed over, subtly, without drawing attention. When the HR manager mentioned a workflow issue they'd been struggling with for months, she asked a single question that reframed the problem completely. One of the panelists blinked and scribbled something down. The others missed it. No one noticed when she pushed a flickering wall socket slightly back into place on her way out. No one noticed how she'd held the door for an intern in the hallway or thanked the cleaning staff. But Marcus did. He wasn't in the room, but he was watching. Not in a creepy way, more like someone used to reading what others overlooked. As chief of staff to the CEO, he made it his job to watch the gaps between meetings, the pauses in conversation, the people dismissed without reason. Back at his desk, Marcus replayed the internal camera footage from the hallway. Something about her manner bothered him. Not in a negative way, just unexpected. She wasn't nervous. She wasn't there to beg for the job. She moved like someone gathering data, not proving worth. He pulled up her file. No social media presence. No flashy background. Just a clean, efficient resume with a few untraceable references, anonymous names tied to major past projects. It was subtle, almost too subtle. Marcus had been around long enough to know what silence can mean. The panel mocked her as soon as the door closed. Laughter, eye rolls, a joke about hiring housekeeping instead of talent. No one disagreed. The interview notes were short, dismissive. Unqualified. No presence. Forgettable. Marcus didn't laugh. He sat alone, replaying her answers. There was precision in how she spoke, like someone trained to say only what mattered. He'd seen that before, not in entry-level candidates, but in executives who led without needing credit. He checked the internal logs. She'd accessed parts of the building long before her interview slot. Night shift, low visibility zones, consulting passcodes, but no official role. Someone had quietly authorized her presence. He asked IT for the access logs. They hesitated. Clearance was high level. When he insisted, they sent over a file with a flagged note, "Do not alter." Monitored by executive office. Her name appeared in reports under a different ID. One linked to internal audits, department reviews, employee morale assessments. She wasn't interviewing for the first time. She had already been inside, watching, listening. Marcus went to the CEO's office. He didn't need to say much. Just mentioned her name. The CEO didn't flinch, just gave a small, knowing smile. "What did you think of her?" Marcus paused. "She's not what they think." The CEO nodded. "Most aren't." That confirmed it. She wasn't random. This was orchestrated. Marcus dug deeper. Her references, while anonymous, matched the timeline of major internal reforms the company had undergone in the last 2 years. She'd worked with teams that turned losses into gains, improved retention, crushed inefficiencies. But her name was never on the public dock. Always behind the scenes. She was moving through the company like a shadow, not hiding, studying. He found something else. A donation record. A foundation that supported employee housing, tied to the company's CSR arm. She was the anonymous founder. No press, no credit, just silent investment. This wasn't a candidate. This was someone testing the system. Quiet leadership in action. No title, no authority, but already reshaping what she touched. And yet, they laughed at her. Marcus wasn't surprised. People in power often miss the ones who don't ask for it. But what they didn't know yet would cost them. She wasn't looking for a job. She was looking for the truth. She was the CEO's wife. Not in the trophy sense they'd imagined, not a silent partner or passive observer. She had been embedded in the company for months, moving through departments, watching everything no one thought to hide. Her role wasn't decorative, it was investigative. Her marriage wasn't public knowledge. Even Marcus had only confirmed it through a confidential file with restricted access. She had a different last name, no online presence, no linked records. A deliberate veil. The CEO had protected her identity not out of secrecy, but strategy. She'd insisted. If she was going to understand the business, it had to be unfiltered. What she found wasn't just arrogance. It was rot. A mid-level manager was selling internal data, subtle, encrypted leaks to a third-party competitor. On paper, everything looked normal. But through her quiet observation, discrepancies surfaced. Financial gaps, mismatched performance reviews, redacted communication logs. She flagged them silently, passed them to Marcus without revealing herself. That manager was connected to several of the same executives who mocked her during the interview. A network. Not just incompetence, active sabotage. Their plan was simple. Weaken the CEO's standing, undercut key departments, push for a leadership vote. They thought they were safe because they controlled the narrative. They didn't know the CEO had planted his sharpest weapon in plain sight. Marcus brought the findings to the CEO. Together, they built a trap. A public reshuffle was announced. New leadership roles would be created to streamline operations. She was placed in one. A mid-tier position, enough to draw attention, not enough to reveal the real game. Now the same people who laughed at her had to answer to her. Some scrambled to cover their tracks. Others tried to manipulate her, charm her, undermine her decisions in private chats. She didn't respond. She didn't retaliate. She just fixed things. Cut through bureaucracy. Empowered juniors. Listened more than she spoke. Her department, previously slow, bloated, and ignored, started outperforming the rest. One of the conspirators tried to have her removed. Filed a complaint. Claimed she was unqualified, disruptive, insubordinate. The complaint never made it past Marcus. A week later, that executive was reassigned. She wasn't done yet. She began elevating people like herself. Quiet, capable, overlooked. She found interns with better solutions than managers, janitors who knew workflow breakdowns better than operations heads. She didn't expose her identity. She let the results speak. The ones still trying to fight her were losing ground fast. And they didn't know they were about to lose everything. Her department became the benchmark. Efficiency up. Turnover down. Morale through the roof. She didn't hold meetings to be seen. She held them to solve problems. No long speeches, no self-promotion. Just result. People began to talk. Not in whispers this time. Interns, assistants, floor staff. They respected her. Not because she demanded it, but because she earned it. She remembered names. She listened. When something broke, she fixed it without fuss or credit. The old guard was shaken. They'd played the game for titles and influence. She rewrote the game with competence. And they were losing. Then came the final move. The CEO called an all-hands meeting. Mandatory. Every department. Every executive. The room buzzed with tension. No one knew why they were there. He spoke briefly. A thank you to the staff. A note on resilience. And then, he introduced her. The room froze. She walked in without pretense. Same calm gaze. Same quiet presence. But now, every eye was on her, and not with mockery. With regret. With confusion. With fear. The CEO's voice didn't rise. Some of you saw her and saw nothing. Others saw a threat. Only a few saw value. She is my wife. And more importantly, she's the reason this company hasn't collapsed under the weight of your egos. Silence. He didn't call out names. He didn't need to. They knew who they were. After the meeting, she didn't celebrate. She declined a promotion, turned down a board seat. Instead, she launched a new internal division, focused on mentorship, ethics, and untapped talent. Her first hires were names no one in leadership recognized. She wasn't interested in being the face of the company. She was building its backbone. The ones who laughed at her never recovered. Some resigned. Others faded into obscurity. But their downfall wasn't her revenge, it was just the cost of their blindness. She didn't wear power like a badge. She wore it like armor, silent, steady, earned. And now, no one would ever overlook her again.